See here, DiJonai is going up for the ball. She misses, and then her hand bends down like this and goes straight into Caitlin's eye. Many people are calling for the WNBA to review this. Many people are calling for DiJonai Carrington to be suspended. People online are asking for the WNBA to review this play because as multiple angles have come out of this play, it seems like it might have been.
WNBA was assaulted, has a black eye during the second half of the game because DiJonai Carrington stabbed her with her
thing that you're proud of. There's a certain level of physicality to basketball, yes, but this excessive physicality that you're just like, yep, gotta get right for the WNBA because it's physical. It's like, no, get better refs.
Recently, during a WNBA playoff game, DiJonai Carrington committed an incident that has caused uproar across the basketball community. The Texas Aces player was seen poking rising star Caitlin Clark right in the eye, leaving Clark on the ground in visible pain. The surprising part, no foul was called, no whistle was blown, and the game went on as if nothing happened. Analysts like Rachel DeMita, along with fans and basketball experts, have since voiced their outrage. This latest physical incident adds to a growing concern that Clark, arguably the face of the league, has been the target of aggressive plays for much of the season. The eye poke, in particular, has made fans demand that the WNBA review the play thoroughly, as new angles suggest it may have been intentional. So, what exactly happened during this heated game? And why didn't the WNBA referees intervene? Many argue that the excessive physicality of the game has led to Clark becoming a frequent target. And with the WNBA failing to protect her, both players and fans are questioning the integrity of the league's officiating. During the playoff game in question, Carrington was seen stabbing her fingers into Caitlin Clark's eye, leading to a swollen black eye for the star player. To the surprise of everyone watching, including analysts and fans, no flagrant foul was called. Clark's injury clearly affected her play in the second half, yet there was no stoppage to review the foul. Fans were left stunned, and many have called this an intentional move aimed at sidelining Clark, whose gameplay has drawn massive attention this season. Clark, known for her remarkable shooting ability and basketball IQ, has taken the league by storm. Yet, instead of being celebrated, she's seemingly become the target of some of the most physical fouls in the league, especially from players like Carrington and others. Analysts, led by Rachel DeMita, have begun to voice their dismay at how the league has treated its star player, asking why referees are turning a blind eye. This isn't the first time Clark has been targeted. Throughout the season, she has been on the receiving end of many flagrant fouls, with a shocking 17% of all such fouls in the WNBA being committed against her. What's more alarming is that 80% of those fouls came from just one team, the Chicago Sky. It's not just bad luck. The numbers suggest that Clark has essentially become the punching bag of the league, with players singling her out on a regular basis. The trend toward excessive physicality in the WNBA is drawing significant criticism. Physicality is part of basketball, sure, but there's a line between a strong competitive game and reckless, dangerous play. Fans, analysts, and even players are increasingly vocal about how the game has become overly rough. Some argue that this could harm the sport, and this latest incident with Clark only highlights the problem. One of the biggest questions following the incident is why the referees didn't call a foul. It's clear from the video footage that Carrington's actions warranted at least a flagrant foul, possibly even an ejection. A flagrant foul, after all, doesn't necessarily require intent to injure. It's a reckless play that puts another player in harm's way. That's exactly what happened here. Yet, the referees missed it entirely. This oversight has led many to question the quality of WNBA officiating. While it's one thing for officials to make mistakes, it's another entirely when the league's biggest star is clearly being targeted and nothing is done to protect her. Some are calling for reforms in the way refereeing is handled in the WNBA, saying the current system isn't enough to ensure player safety. The issue of long fingernails has also entered the conversation. Carrington's nails were long enough to cause significant damage, which raises questions about player safety. Many fans and analysts have voiced their concerns that long nails should not be allowed in professional basketball due to the risks they pose. In fact, in many youth leagues, coaches require players to trim their nails before stepping on the court. So why are WNBA players allowed to play with such long nails? The lack of regulation on this issue is baffling to some, especially given the potential for injury. The nail that Carrington used to poke Clark could have easily caused even more serious damage, and it's something that many think the league needs to address immediately. The WNBA has long prided itself on being a physical league, but many are now asking whether that's really something to celebrate. Basketball, at its core, is about skill, speed, and strategy. Yes, it's a physical sport, but the kind of reckless aggression that's being allowed to happen could push the WNBA in a dangerous direction. Fans don't tune in to see hard fouls and flagrant acts of aggression. They want to see smooth, skillful plays, long-range shooting, and fast-paced action. Caitlin Clark, with her deep shooting range and sharp basketball IQ, represents that kind of exciting play. But with the level of physicality she's facing, she's being denied the chance to showcase her full potential. Players like Clark bring new fans to the WNBA, and it's clear that her presence has drawn more eyeballs to the league than ever before. But what message does it send when the league allows her to be bullied on the court, game after game? As Caitlin Clark continues to rise, many are beginning to wonder if jealousy is at play. Charles Barkley and other commentators have openly suggested that players may be targeting Clark out of envy. They argue that rather than embracing Clark as the star she is, some players are trying to take her down a peg, and the referees are allowing it to happen. Barkley even commented on how Clark's success has benefited other players, especially when it comes to things like improved visibility and increased revenue for the WNBA. Yet, instead of celebrating her achievements, some players seem determined to make her life difficult on the court. This jealousy is becoming more apparent, especially with players like Angel Reese also taking verbal and physical shots at Clark. It's no longer just about basketball. There's a deeper, more personal element to the way Clark is being treated by some of her peers. Perhaps the most disappointing aspect of the whole situation is the response, or lack thereof, by Clark's own team. Instead of rallying around their star player, some of her teammates seemed indifferent to her plight. During the game, after Clark was poked in the eye and visibly in pain, few teammates rushed to help her. Some even appeared to smirk, barely offering any assistance as Clark struggled to get up. This has sparked a new discussion about the role of teammates in protecting their star players. In professional basketball, especially in the NBA, it's common to see teams stand up for their stars, whether it's through physical presence or even escalating conflicts when necessary. That's not what's happening here. Even more troubling is the response from Clark's coach, Christy Sides. After the game, instead of calling out the foul that injured her star player, Sides downplayed the incident entirely. She even went so far as to blame her own team's defense, essentially brushing off the blatant foul that left Clark with a black eye. Many are now questioning whether Sides is doing enough to stand up for her player, who is vital not only to the team, but also to the entire league. To make matters worse, Carrington defended herself after the game, claiming she didn't even realize she had poked Clark in the eye. She insisted that the foul wasn't intentional and that she was simply trying to make a play on the ball. However, video footage tells a different story. Fans and analysts alike have called Carrington out, accusing her of lying and saying that the foul was obviously intentional. Rachel Dieter, one of the most respected voices in WNBA analysis, has been particularly vocal about Carrington's defense. Dieter, along with many others, believes Carrington's actions were deliberate and that her attempt to downplay the incident only makes it worse. One of the ideas being floated by analysts like Rachel Dieter is the introduction of a special whistle for star players like Caitlin Clark. The concept is similar to what exists in the NBA, where certain players are given a bit more protection due to their importance to the game. With someone like Clark, who draws in massive viewership and media attention, the idea is that she should be given special attention from referees to ensure she's not unfairly targeted. Of course, not everyone agrees with this idea. Some argue that it could create an unfair advantage for certain players, while others worry it would dilute the physicality of the game. But in light of the ongoing attacks on Clark, it's hard to deny that something needs to change. The WNBA needs to protect its star players, not just for their sake, but for the sake of the league's future. The NBA has already gone through a similar transition. Years ago, the league was known for its physical play, with players regularly getting away with hard fouls and rough tactics. But over time, the NBA has evolved to protect its players more and to prioritize speed, skill, and scoring. The game today is faster, more exciting, and less reliant on physicality than it was in the past.